Thank you very much. Okay, number 3, receive comments from the public. We have 3 folks there. Ken, I guess you want to go first. You're getting Kent Maggart.
Took one of the agenda items off of folks running the election, so happy to know that our constituents will eliminate that one thing that we were gonna pose that we do.
Excuse me,
Does it record the meetings?
hear you. We can't hear you.
Okay, so
You can step
anyway,
closer too, Ken.
anyway, the reason I'm here tonight is I want to find out what the current ditch mowing protocol is. As you know, that's been an issue of mine for 20 years. And if anybody's been out and walked out the bike paths where we have ditches, we have waist high weeds. Nothing's been touched. We've had wet spring. And I'd like to know tonight, you can tell me, Scott.
Well, Ken, I don't know. We'll get with you an answer if that's what you need to know.
But we've got a golf tournament coming up here in 2 weeks.
Oh,
We're on national television. We've got thousands of people. We've got 5 different holes. We have ditches.
Is that the main thing you're coming with tonight?
And I just want to make sure that these ditches get mowed. And
Eric, can you get with Kent and let him know that?
why they haven't been mowed yet.
Mine's been mowed.
Your ditch?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to get discussion.
I just wanted to make a comment. Believe it or not, I was thinking of you today and I thought, I'm going to ask Kent, is he still promoting walking the ditches? Because when I was out running for office a number of times, people would say, do you know Kent Maggart? We see him walking the ditches all the time. So
We'll discuss that next month, at the next board meeting.
Yeah.
Tonight's this month's meeting.
You'll find out you get a lot of voters. A lot of
Walking the ditch.
So is that what you wanted to talk about, Kent, the mowing
A
schedule?
lot of people, but hopefully this place, they've always been mowed. And we started 6 times a year when I was on the board. I noticed they went back to 4 times a year. But for some reason, they haven't been touched. Now, what ditch are you on? What hole?
I don't know what, I don't have a number of the ditch, but mine is fine.
We'll get to this later.
Okay.
Thank you. Is that, you know, anything else? We appreciate you coming to let us know about that. Anyone else from the public want to speak?
I'd like to introduce my wife, Ann. She's my boss. She's with me tonight.
Okay.
Just
Hello, Ann. Nice to see you.
just to see what I do for a living.
and I'd like to introduce my running partner, my running mate for the MUD 36 director election, Mr. Ken Polk.
Okay, nice to see you. Okay, all right, well, we'll move on to item 4 then. Consider an act on requests for adjustments to or relief from the specific charges imposed by the district. All right. Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. There's 6 items in the consent agenda. Is there anything that a director would like to address that we need to take out of the consent agenda to specifically discuss? Okay, that being said, then do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Motion approved. Okay, for the regular agenda, Brian, I can move things out of order as long as they're on the agenda, right? I'd like to move item 16, discuss MUD 36 historical finances and address that now.
Very good.
I think, Pat, that was Pete, that's yours item.
That's my item. Give me a couple of minutes if you don't mind.
Well, first of all, I want to know if you said in your note here to be read into the minutes of March 20th, 2024.
Well, I did say that, and Sharon said I would not like to, I'd like to read it before you read it into the minutes.
Well, I'll tell you this, I'm gonna let you read it, but there's a lot of general vague statements in here.
I'm not gonna read it.
Okay, but I just want,
We can all
I'm gonna not be interrupted and finish what I'm saying.
go ahead.
There's several items in here that are vague and left open-ended that I don't think they ought to be in our minutes. I mean, it can be like a general article, like we have a letter to the editor or a letter from someone talking about our, customer service or something like that. But, and so if you want to, whatever you want to present, that's fine. I'll let you go, but I don't want to have this whole thing read to them.
I'm not gonna read
Okay, go ahead.
What page is it on?
44.
40.
it.
You haven't read it then?
Yes, I've read it.
Okay.
45.
About a year ago, that Sharon and Pam, I was at a Grogan'sville meeting, and they said that John Yours was running for another office. They needed a place to, and I figured I can do this. I'm a chemical engineer. I've run water and wastewater businesses in 6 countries. 6 countries. This should be a crib, not a problem at all. I was really, really wrong. This is not anything like I've ever done before in my life. And it's not the technical in it. The technical guys, you're the best and the brightest.
Mhm.
And there's not a bunch I can say about that. The engineers that you hire, the best and the brightest. You guys over there, the problem is from a layman's standpoint, trying to understand what is going on and trying to identify all the terminology and all the numbers and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's a whale of a problem. It's taken me some time to get used to it, to be honest.
So we're talking about your understanding more than the finances then?
I know, I've got the flu.
I know, but
Okay,
this was, the point says,
just a minute.
discuss for historical finances of the.
We're going to.
36.
Scott. All
I'm the
right.
president. I can decide how long we talk. Go ahead.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Can
ahead.
I talk now?
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I've heard for quite a while that Mud 36 has financial problems.
Who you heard that from?
Ray Cal.
You?
I told you, okay, go ahead.
I think
Okay.
you should ask for names, Scott.
Well.
But because he's
the
got,
president. He can ask for.
this piece of paper has a lot of vague references and I wanted to make sure.
You've already talked to me about it.
Okay.
Okay. Anyhow, I'm going to finish, by the way. All right. So I got to looking into it, and it's taken me a lot of time. I spent a lot of time with Eric, a lot of time with Sharon, a lot of time Maureen, and many, many hours going through this stuff on my own. And what I have found is the problems with this. Well, first, let me say something else. Let me say something. We have a vision statement that we all swore to uphold, right? And a mission statement. The vision is very easy. Give good product and services to our customers. Does anybody ever read the mission statement? Here's the mission statement. It says, manage our water with fiscal integrity, efficient business practices, responsible operations, infrastructure maintenance, community partnership, and environmental stewardship. Okay, that's a lot of stuff there. But what we owe to the constituents in Mud 36 and in every other mud and the entire community of the Woodlands is we owe them fiscal responsibility and enough maintenance to keep everything safe. Now, true, Mud 36 is either the oldest or it's one of the oldest muds in the Woodlands. So we're about 50 years old, and that doesn't just include the wastewater plant. It also includes all of our infrastructure, all of our CA pipes and all. Everybody knows this. We talk about this ad infinitum. So I went back and tried to figure this out. Went back to a chart, and I've got a chart. We'll put it in the record, and it is in the record. Going back to 2006, showing just the tax rate and how it was lowered, up, lowered. And then we got caught by Senate Bill 2. Know what Senate Bill 2 is? For the public, Senate Bill 2, it says that you can only raise your tax rates 3.5%. Actually, what that was for the school systems, so they couldn't just keep raising the taxes, but we got caught up in it. So Senate Bill 2 is up and it kind of caught and said, okay, now you can't do it. So it kind of put us in a bind financially. And without going through all of this, and I will read this into the record for myself, but not, everybody here can read. And you may or may not agree with it, but everything I say in here is fact.
Well, okay, Kent, what do you say? Our current cash basis is out of line with other MUDs. Do you know why it is?
Yes,
Why?
taxes and.
No, because we paid off all our bonds. The other MUDs have debt on their books and large infrastructure that.
You want to discuss this now?
No, we're not. I'm just telling you
Okay,
that if you're going to read some of the stuff out, there are logical reasons why this is the case. And it's not due to, the financial status being bad. And as you say in here, not fully financially sound. That is not the case.
Okay,
So,
you can dispute me in another venue, but this is my venue right this second.
as long as you've already talked about 5 minutes about several. different
Okay,
things.
well, I'm finished. Any questions? Anybody have any questions? Good, I'm finished.
Thank you for your invitation to call you and discuss it.
Yes, call me and discuss it at any time. Anybody here, please do.
Okay.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't call the two of us who've been on the board the longest.
I talked to Scott.
But you call me after you wrote this up and put it on the Facebook page.
The numbers are the numbers.
But with the
By the
reason-
way, by the way, just for your information, I'm not saying why something happened. I just said the consequences of what.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
We know pretty much why this happened. We were trying to lower our tax rate because we didn't need to collect a whole bunch of money. And that was what we were doing. We
Yeah.
were lowering it gradually over a period of about 6 years here. And we have a lot of elderly people in our MUD, at that time, more than we have now. And it was getting kind of hard for these widows to make their water bills going up.
That's the why.
And that's the why. And so we thought, we don't need this money, all this money for our bonds anymore. Our debt is pretty much gone.
Makes sense.
And so that's why you
Just-
see this downward for 6 years. We got down to 3.5 cents, and we had a little discussion over that at one time. And the 0.5 cent is mine.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you later. It wasn't anything much, but we've been there pretty much ever since.
Well, according
And
to,
then-
by the way, according to a 5-year projection that I have, it's gonna take 5 to 7 years to get back up to where we have enough money as the other MUDs, and we did talk about that.
But we don't need the money that the other MUDs have. We don't need it. We don't have the purpose.
Unless something happens,
Right.
unless something happens.
But we're gonna move on to item 11. Thank you very much, Pete. Receive the regular monthly River Authority Woodlands Division report, including updates on operations, projects, and public outreach. Oh, Chris.
Okay. No violations, nothing out of the ordinary, pretty standard month, but you do have the women's operations report in here, followed up by the GRP report. If you have any questions on anything in here or anything else going on, just let me know. I'll be glad to answer that question.
Any questions for Chris?
Question.
Okay, go ahead, Sharon. Bam.
Okay, is there any quick update on the project plan, the 10-year project plan? Any changes in the phases or anything, or would that be in a formal document?
Right now, the project plan is still as presented last month. There's been no changes, no adjustments. We did kick off the AC water line condition assessment testing. That'll come in next year, about June of 25. Once we get that report in, we'll probably make some changes to that section of the project plan. There is a topic on the agenda related to the wastewater treatment plant. And so based on what occurred with that, there could be changes as well. Everything else stays like it is. The funding for the cash portion is actually included with the budget that we present next month. The other bonding options, those will come later on. They're not all approved at one time. It's as the funds are needed.
Okay, well, what is the nature of the cash?
The cash comes from, so the R&R fund is funded from the O&M budget.
Mhm.
So in the O&M rate, the wholesale water and sewer, that includes about $6 million for the R&R fund. It's an annual transfer of about $6 million to fund cash
Every year?
every year
Great,
From all MUDs.
from all months.
great. Thank you.
Sharon, you said you had a question?
I had a general question and, I keep monitoring the permitted flow and, the actual flow from wastewater treatment, number one. And, is it excessively low because y'all don't want to stress the infrastructure? Or is it just the fact that our population, usage has changed so much? It's like 2.94
Correct.
on the reported flow.
On page 23, top left box,
Thank you.
shows reported flow 2.94. Keep in mind, plant one is mostly a lot commercial. And so hotels, apartment buildings, office buildings and stuff like that. So when those occupancies are down,
Hmm.
that flow is also down. So essentially from COVID forward, that flow has been dropping and has not regained just yet because there's a lot of vacancies.
Hmm.
That's interesting.
What is, just follow up and then I'll move on. You can move on. So what estimate of residential would you assume is in that treatment, facility process there?
I wouldn't even begin to
Okay.
give you an assumption.
Okay.
I can look it up and I'll send it to Eric though, just to see based off SFQVs, I can do that.
I have a question. Maximum flow is what, 7.8?
7.8 is
So
the,
we're way under capacity on that one.
correct. That's part of why when we did the wastewater plant study, the entire thing, the plant actually is being reduced in capacity from 7.8 to 7 million gallons a day.
Just 7.
Just so keep in mind, TCEQ has a 75/90 rule, so we cannot exceed 75% of that capacity, which is around 6, maybe 5.5 to 6.
Have you ever hit 6?
Not during a normal event, we have not. Well, you take that back. We haven't hit 6, but we were at 5 before wastewater plant 2 came online.
Mm-hmm.
And we could still transfer flow from plant 2 to plant 1. It'd be 4.5, 5.
Any more questions for Chris?
Bill's Fielding. Thank you.
So we'll move on to item 12, discuss potential funding alternatives related to the River Authority's proposed infrastructure project.
This is an item from last month that we presented, kept it on this month in case there was any
Yeah.
further discussion, but no action.
So when do we think there'll be something to discuss?
Well, we have an action item on 13 we have to consider.
Okay, well, let's just move on to 13 then. Consider an act on a supplemental agreement with the River Authority for engineering on wastewater reclamation facility number 2.
You want,
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
please, Scott, it should be one. So this is the supplemental agreement that was originally provided by the River Authority in January, presented to the boards. The River Authority had asked initially for a vote to be considered in March. In March is when we were working to present to all the districts the funding alternatives for the full 600 million on the CIP, which is wastewater treatment plant, AC water lines, all the different things in there. And I know there's a lot of discussion about when some items will happen. So I want to clarify that the 4 options, we went into some detail on this in some of the other meetings, is not for just the wastewater treatment plant, and certainly not for just the engineering on the wastewater treatment plant. It's for the full 600 million CIP plan. That's what was discussed in the 4 funding options, what it would cost to do that, whether you do it on a rollback rate, whether you do it on a flat, fee that's different for water, commercial, et cetera. So since we've had that discussion last month, now this item is on the agenda for the boards to consider this month. As a recap on that supplemental agreement, what it provides for is to authorize the River Authority to issue sewer revenue bonds to on a 30-year maturity, not to exceed $40 million to fund the design and engineering of a new plant we would want, not repair of components or what have you, but a new plant. There's been
Could you
some.
repeat that number, please? First, the bond for 40 million.
And within that 40 million, there is the ability to include capitalized interest not to exceed 2 years. The River Authority has said that they plan to include the full 2 years of capitalized interest as a way to give the MUDs flexibility and a runway before they would need to figure out how to pay for that $40 million of debt service. You wouldn't have bonds issued day one, wholesale rate goes up that you've got to figure out how you're going to pay for. You've got a 2 year runway that the interest on the bonds will be paid for with a portion of the proceeds of the bonds. Sure. And so you've got some time to make a decision about, do you want to do a rollback rate? Do you want to do a flat fee? Do you want to do, pass through retail? So you've got time on that.
Brian, let me ask you this. Does this have to be decided, act on tonight?
It does not have to be acted on tonight. It's on all the agendas for consideration. We've had, when we kind of go back to the decision. So we've had districts take action. The majority of them have taken action to approve. I think we've had 3 defer, like 47, 39, and 46. The rest of the districts have approved. What I've told all the boards and will tell y'all, in order to consider approving the supplemental agreement, you have to have gotten to the point of there's an option to go and repair existing components and try to push out the replacement, or you've already heard enough from stakeholder meetings or reports from that, what have you, you're already past that point and you come to the conclusion that a new plant is necessary. If you've already passed that point and determined that a new plant is necessary, whether or not it's handled through MBR technology or conventional treatment technology, that can still be determined while they're doing the design and engineering on a new plant. But if you've determined in your own mind that a new plant is necessary, then it's appropriate to consider voting to approve this supplemental agreement. If you think that maybe components should be repaired and that a new plant's not necessary, then you're not ready to vote on the supplemental. So I've tried to make sure that all the directors understand the consequences of voting on the supplemental so that there's not any confusion. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Real quick, I want to say something. I'm in favor of tabling it because there'll be 2 new directors on the board next month. That's not a majority and the board can decide otherwise. But my opinion is to defer it to next month when we have 5 elected board members that will be on the board for quite a while. So that's only my opinion, but that's what I'm.
Can we vote on that?
Yes.
If there's a motion, we can vote on anything, Pam.
So there's reasonable minds. I said this in the last meeting. Reasonable minds can disagree on this.
Yeah,
Look at the set of facts and have different opinions. So there have been some board members, Scott, who've had exactly your opinion of, hey, we need to leave this for after the election. That was a discussion at the last board meeting. There have been some board meetings where that exact topic has come up and the decision has been, we've been here the whole time. We've been educated on the stakeholder process, we the directors, and we feel like we've got the institutional knowledge to be able to vote in an educated fashion on this topic, as opposed to you have new directors come in. There's going to be a learning curve and you got to get them up. So reasonable minds can, disagree on what that is.
I just was just giving you my
We've heard it
opinion.
both ways. And that's for y'all to decide. We don't have a recommendation.
Is there a drop dead date on when you gotta do it?
No, but I think Ed can probably speak to what was talked about at the trustee meeting about the costs associated with the increases for inflation and what have you. So
Before he does that, I don't understand the supplemental agreement is in addition to the 600 million that,
no, it's a component. So if you say the entire cost of 10 years of multiple components is 600 million, that's their best estimate right now. 40 million is a part of that. So there's 560 in addition to this 40, and each additional amount that would be bond financed would have to come back to the board. Part of it is, as we come back for, if this is approved to go forward, the must decide to go forward with the plan. There would have to be subsequent supplemental agreement for the construction of the wastewater.
I see, okay.
Future directors would make the decision on what have you. So this is only binding as to the design and engineering for a new
I
plant.
get it, I get it.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Is there a way to calculate what financial impact to our mud it would be? The way I know. but-
Yeah, Adam's been asked that question. I don't know if you have
So,
a
yeah,
short
that-
answer.
I think it'll ultimately be about 1 to 2 cents, but what was asked at an earlier meeting was to provide what that impact is for the 40 million.
Mhm.
So the 11 by 17 analysis that I presented last month,
Mhm.
I'll update that just with the first tranche. And so I'll give it to Eric this week and it can be distributed so that you guys have that information.
1 to 2 cents
Okay.
what?
If you were to look at it from a tax rate standpoint.
Tax rate, yes, tax rate.
Ryan, if we have to keep coming back for supplemental agreement approval, what's gonna happen if some of the districts don't go along at some point?
Right, good question.
So you're saying if there's, one or two that doesn't, so that's gonna be a decision for the River Authority. There's existing contracts between the River Authority and the MUDs for ownership, operation, and maintenance of these regional facilities. And if the River Authority determines that the essential, I'm paraphrasing, but an essential repair or replacement that's needed, there are mechanisms for them to be able to move forward with that. And one option, a cash call, and there's other options there, but that would be for the River Authority to come to whatever the holdout district or districts were to come to a resolution there.
You said the magic word, cash call.
So if we have a motion, it gets voted down. Can it be voted again by next month within the board?
Okay, I move we vote on this
I
tonight.
have a question.
Oh, pardon me. I didn't see your hand.
My turn.
Pardon me.
I just wanted to, I have all the documents. I have the 10-year plan. I've got the recap of the 10-year plan. But I was meditating. I was meditating on the fact that we keep talking about the 600 million, the 600 million, and I would like to know where it breaks down. 40 million, the 560, where in all my material can I see that breakdown? And I don't need anybody to tell me tonight. It's just been on my mind that all of a sudden it seems like we started talking about 600 million. And I want to see where that is broken down.
Last month you got,
I have that. Okay,
this is the 591.
okay.
And then Adam just mentioned that what he can do
It's
is remove for just 40. Is it accurate that you can just prorate it for 591 and get close?
You'll probably
Be pretty close.
I mean, the
That's not
soft costs will be different, so.
true. You could get close.
Yeah, you get.
That'd be great.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
You could
did.
do 591, 591st of
Yeah,
this.
got
You
it.
could get close. but-
Okay, yeah, okay,
But
that's
he's,
great.
but he's gonna do that and I can provide
That
that.
sounds awesome.
Any more discussion? Right, you can. It's all right, thank you.
I move that we vote on this tonight.
Okay, you have to say more than that. You have to say what you're.
How do you want to vote? Your motion will be how you want to vote.
Okay, I vote that we approve the $40 million supplement agreement tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those in favor say no. I'm saying no. So agreement's been approved. Item 14, receive the attorney's report.
Two items there. One, you may have seen in the paper copies outside the door there or by email that the River Authority did get a very successful result on the lawsuit with the city of Conroe and Magnolia, the Texas
Yes.
Supreme Court.
Yes.
So ruled pretty much in their favor across the board. The only drawback I'd say of that ruling is the fact that everything up until now has been procedural, meaning that nothing has been litigated on the merits, because when the lawsuit was filed, like any government, like any district or governmental entity would do, including a MUD, the first defense is going to be governmental immunity. I'm not subject to this lawsuit. And so that's before you get to the merits. And so that's what's been litigated all this time. And what the Supreme Court just resolved is to say, no, actually, governmental immunity doesn't apply to you, city. You are subject to this lawsuit. And so now it goes all the way back to the district court to be litigated on the merits. And anybody's guess how long that takes to go through the trial process, then potential appeal of that appeal to the Supreme Court. So unfortunately, we're not to the end of the road, but it's, it is making some progress.
So they don't get the money right away?
No, they do not. And speaking, that's a good segue into the money. The river authorities reported, and I think it's in your packet.
I was just gonna say, I have that as.
In excess of 25 million of short pay penalties and interest. That does not include the roughly 8 million that the river authority said has been incurred for legal fees. For awful creation. So
Those on the board haven't been on the whole time. Conroe quit, and some other cities start short paying, and based upon the GRP fee of around $2, I think. And they never increased, they paid the lower amount, but they quit paying any increase since.
So that's another, that's roughly what, well, I mean, I guess it's close to the amount, but double in terms of what you saw back in a refund from the flood. So there's still a big chunk hanging out there.
You think that the river authority trying to settle for a lesser amount?
I could not speak. Not their litigation counsel, not their general counsel.
I wouldn't expect you to tell me that.
Thought I saw in the River Authority report that there was a certain amount of that, I don't know, maybe less than 50%, that y'all were going to.
Different amount.
We're fixing the project.
Second item on the attorney report, you may have seen in the news last week that the EPA came out with final rules to regulate 6 PFAS or forever chemicals. And so those rules will start to be implemented in a phased approach with monitoring being required starting in 2027, and then enforcement for violations starting in 2029. Some of the news reports that have come out thus far have estimated that the cost to implement the new rules, both for testing and for treatment, could exceed $1.5 billion per year. So that's a large
Across the whole country?
across the whole country. And so far, there's been limited amounts of testing done, but some testing done for PFAS, whether it's the 6 that are regulated or the other 200 plus that are out there, by Woodlands Water and the distribution system, and by the River Authority and the GRP at the GRP plant, and also at the wastewater treatment plant. And those test results so far have come back in good shape. But it's too early to say if all of our water would be compliant with these new rules as to those 6 chemicals, but more to come on that.
Well, very good.
Scheduled to start in February of 2025. It's on page 50.
What about, I did read that and said that River Authority has 80 customers, and of those, there are like 7 customers that are a part of our group. Are we gonna have to take into consideration all the other muds in the country, or are we gonna try to just focus on?
We're only in terms of the PFAS testing,
Yeah.
it's going to be as to the water that
We
we
get,
receive. So it's going to be a combination of surface water from the San Jacinto River going into Lake Conroe that's treated, and then groundwater that's pumped from our various wells here in the Woodlands.
The sampling of the muds, will it be like at a home tap or?
Yeah, it's too early to say the rules.
Because I had a neighbor that was for something, they got tested for
We're
that.
still digging into that.
That was when they had the boil water notices.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And our financial impact will be through San Jacinto.
Most of it, but there will be some testing requirements through Woodlands Water that will be incurred separate and apart from the distribution system.
And how do we pay for that, Eric? Just out of our operations.
what about the settlement from 3M and the other violators?
When do we get that money?
That's a nice chunk of change.
Have we sent them an invoice yet?
When do we get that? money?
I'm losing track of-
We'll talk about it later.
Lost me on that one.
That's a federal law.
Any other things that you
No,
want?
that's it under item 14.
Any questions for Brian? If not, we'll move into the exciting part of consider and act upon updated draft contingency plan and water conservation policy.
Yes, you have a drought contingency plan and a water conservation policy that in place. They were submitted in 2019. They're required to be updated, looked at and updated, reviewed every 5 years. That's now. They need to be finalized and submitted by May 1. We've been working on those in conjunction with STRA as well as a consultant to help us. I can report that the drought contingency plan did not change much at all. None of the drought contingency triggers or anything like that changed. There were some changes to the water conservation policy. In 2019, you didn't have AMI meters. So that's been updated into the water conservation plan, as well as documenting the strategic communication plan, which within it has a significant amount of water conservation public outreach that you currently implement. So that's also been updated into the water conservation policy. So I would need a motion to approve and submit those documents.
Make a motion that, to approve and submit those documents.
I'll second.
Motion's been made to approve the drought contingency plan policy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move to item 17, consider and act on election of officers. Now, I'm assuming that's Brian. I don't know what I'm doing there.
What?
Item 17
So is that the item?
says election of officers.
You-
Oh,
Yes, it
okay.
is.
I'm sorry,
I believe
Brian.
so, Brian.
That was
If there's-
Pam, excuse
If
me.
there's not another one,
So you, please, talk.
I would like to be considered for a trustee from Mud Six since we're losing our incumbent, Jan Price. Do I make a motion to vote?
No, you just let us know. We'll talk about it.
Okay, I have seniority as the MUD director with the loss of Scott and with the loss of Jim Price. So I believe that I'm duly qualified to this point to be a trustee with my level of seniority right at 3 years.
Over you.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
I hear that second.
Do you have a motion?
Yeah.
You moved, you seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I can vote for myself.
Sure you can. All right, you're the new JPA.
Thank you.
It's not the
very
J,
much.
is it the, what do you call it?
You want to start next month?
Well, Woodlands Water, golly, you had me going back in the time capsule.
Way back,
Time.
Mr. Peabody in the Wayback Machine, huh?
Would you like
Okay.
to start next month?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure she gets the notice in the packet for May. All right, move on to item
Thank you.
18.
Thank you.
Okay, 18, if you look, it's not 38, it's 48. If you look at page 48, I will report on that on
All right.
page 48 here in just a second. What Karen was mentioning a minute ago was that the GRP committee made recommendation and approved the usage of surplus funds related to the drought and related to the Quadvest monies to direct, and then subsequently the STRA Board of Directors approved the recommendation, which moves $14 million of the surplus to buy down GRP debt. That equates about a 3 cent reduction in the wholesale water rate that you see coming from STRA. An additional 12 million was approved to be credited or refunded to the MUDs, to the 80 GRP participants. That's where the 80 came in that you were mentioning earlier.
Okay.
Of which a summary of that as it relates to the Woodlands MUDs is on page 48. And so as you can see, of the 12 million, the Woodlands MUDs, which includes 386 on this spreadsheet, was 3.18 million. And Mud 36's share of that is 118,392.11 cents. And so that, we've received the credit memo from SGRA, of which we will process in your April financials, and you should see that credit in your April.
Yay.
Please. It'll, everything helps. Bump that reserve up.
Any questions for Eric about the GRP surplus?
And that'll be going into the reserve fund, so it is not spendable.
Well, no, it goes into your operating. Of your operating, there is a reserve, a small reserve, but there's a reserve. So it'll go into the operating. Sure.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that information, Eric, and we will move on
So glad.
back to you. Receive and act on, or act on the general manager's report.
Couple quick items. Wanted to point out in our packet, we had included a couple thank yous from customers on their appreciation of some interactions with our staff. Also, there is a notice on the township making a proclamation to Bruce Cunningham and his passing. Bruce Cunningham Day, March 27th. So we thought that was very nice. Tomorrow evening, AWD is going to have their spring seminar. Speaker is Mike Turco, General Manager of Harris Galveston Subsidence District. And so he'll be talking about, I believe, subsidence in the area. Shelley, myself, and several other directors are planning to go to that. It's not too late to sign up if you'd like, but wanted to point that out. Talked a little bit about some building improvement needs last year at budget time, and happy to say we finished the roof replacement of the building. Unfortunately,
Not before the deluge.
well, it actually was, but we did suffer some water inundation from the storm last week, not through the new roof.
Oh,
The old holes and leaks from that actually held up, but we had a separate issue from the balcony over here that we're going to have to address and deal with before we can do sheetrock and some of the other repairs from the old leaks and stuff. So still working on that. But we're now, it's flooded two times in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And so we now, the writings, we figured it out.
It's called ponding, Eric.
Yes.
Just remember that's ponding. Pond.
Good.
Another improvement I wanted to point out is the map you see behind Peter. You can see the before version behind Brian and Adam, and the new. What you'll start seeing around the area, particularly in the common areas, is some things like that. A little bit more modern look, a little bit cleaner. That is a dry erase eligible, capable. And so we're
we can put the
looking
hot
at that.
spots on.
Yeah, that is incredibly affordable, surprisingly, but for comparing to the one behind them, that's actually more expensive to build than that one. But it looks nice. We're gonna do more of that type of look as we go forward.
Shouldn't be any more districts, right, Brian? Or additions to them?
Couldn't say additions, I doubt it, there's not a lot of.
Outlying land.
It does have the latest tracks that have been annexed over the last couple of years. As you can see, I think that map behind them
Yeah,
is
it's more
2018, I think was, so that was pretty old.
That piece of 39 is new from that
I was
last.
just gonna say, that brought to my attention.
Same with the
Never
other.
say never.
What was that all about? It was just brought to my attention this past week. And so this map is very helpful. But I see a little tiny lime green square above 47. And then I see the pointing finger over there on 39 next to 46. How did that come about? Why are they part of that? They've just,
New Year's Eve, when they drove this thing.
anybody know? I mean,
No, it's
No, we know.
how can they be served by 39?
Well,
That's
it's
Weight
it's
Watchers.
a regional system. I mean, I know this is kind of getting outside of our.
Yeah, we don't have to belabor it.
But it's in Conroe's ETJ, and 39 is the only mud that's in Conroe's ETJ.
I don't,
46, the only one I can be aware of, Sharon, 46, which is High Oaks, had a lot of trouble with their tax base. And that's why they added that 46 to the back of it, so they could overall equalize their tax base instead of hitting everybody in High Oaks with such big tax increases. And there's other reasons for other ones too, but that's why they're not contiguous in some cases. Right, Brian?
What happened to 387 down there on the old map? Missing on the new map.
Yeah, we didn't include the areas not in WWA other than to show 386 and Creekside. That's the majority of we didn't highlight it, but I wanted to at least put the boundary there.
That's Harris County.
Right,
I
that's
see.
Harris County. The only other thing I had on my list was to kick it over to John for a communications report.
Got a brief report for you tonight. Starts on page 54 of the packet. I'll touch on a couple items. Noting that we do have election information up on the website. We have been sending out messaging to via email and social media. We'll continue to do so, but it's all very straightforward information. County election website.
The flyer that we voted to pay for, I'm very happy with.
All right, and Bill.
And I just wanted to make sure, because then I heard complaints about the movement, changing of the venue for electing because of the Ironman being at the finish line right by the community center. And I wonder, does the QR code tell people to go to the Shenandoah City Hall?
It tells them to go to the Montgomery County election website where there is polling
The most
location.
up-to-date
times.
information.
Okay.
So if that information changes, I understand it. You know, if it does,
Oh, my
that's
God.
on them. Yeah, we just want them there for the latest information.
Thank you.
Try to send them there as directly as possible to.
So could your QR code change dynamically?
Well, it's just tied to the URL. So if they
Right.
change their website. It's fine.
It's
just the same
Montgomery
URL,
County.
so.
Elections website is where it's
A
sent.
little bit side question. Did you have to pay for a QR code? I had to pay for a QR code for 3 months, like lease it.
You
Mhm.
can get them free. We actually have a minimal amount monthly. So we can access a program that will to track those geographies.
I
Be able to do that, and there's a service fee.
I see tracking information like how many hits.
Exactly.
Okay,
Gauge effectiveness. are
good.
very
Thank
expensive.
you.
And then just an update on the Holiday Infrastructure Communications Campaign. So we've been continuing to work with them. We have their strategic communication, I should say our strategic communications plan in hand. And the next step is the River Authority Board will vote on whether to approve the second round of funding in this month. That will fund phase 3 and 4. Phase 3 and 4 are the implementation phase and then the reporting monitoring. So if approved, we should be implementing beginning of May. And get to work.
When is that board meeting,
Oh, I
please?
see.
When is that board meeting? SJRA board meeting?
Or Thursday.
Fourth Thursday.
And 25th at 8 a.m.
Oh, no wonder I haven't been before.
No, it is live.
I need a chauffeur to go that far each morning. Okay.
Yeah, don't get up that early. I did a presentation in Water Smart and at the Grogan's Mill, and I would urge you to tell other people to do the same thing. I finally figured it out, and it is dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
I
It really is.
appreciate that, and we take every opportunity. Which water party is fantastic.
It really is. And unlike some people who thought that it would give you information, you already have the information.
Right.
You're just giving it back to us in a form that we can utilize it. Because people are afraid of prying eyes or something like that.
Very intuitive, very easy to use.
Any questions for John?
Good job, John.
Eric, I want to touch base with you after the meeting about the Arthur Breedoff meeting that we had. Later. The pipe replacement in the town center.
Okay.
We'll talk about it because I think it's going to need to be discussed again in a couple of months. New board members, new president.
Okay.
Any other questions for Eric?
Metro isn't having any elections, is it?
No.
Okay.
All right. If there's no more questions for Eric, we'll move on to item 20. Receive the Woodlands Water Trustees Report. Hello, Jan.
Hello. That's on 57 and 58 of our packet. And by the way, I got a call from somebody at Georgia's Coffee Club the other day, and they were very impressed with your presentation, or your presentation.
It was his presentation.
Whoever made the presentation did a great job.
It was Eric.
We have covered a lot of this. Is there anything that we haven't covered in our meeting? And as you know, this is usually a duplicate of what we have to talk about in our meeting. And a lot of this is all in the trustees meeting. We just get it about a week early. Y'all have any questions?
Well, I have kind of a question for Ed Shackelford.
Okay, well, that's really not the trustee, but you can go ahead and ask him.
No, true, it is there.
But so is it something you really need to talk with him about? You should have done it earlier, but,
He's got-
I have it underlined on page 57.
okay, then you want to ask Jan if it's on the trustees meeting.
All right,
Hang on.
Jan. The settlement of the lawsuits that we discussed earlier tonight, is that all the lawsuits that SJRA has in the pipeline, or just one or two of them?
I think that's partial.
Okay.
There are more. No,
See, didn't even need,
There are definitely more.
There are
One
definitely
of them is the Supreme Court case that's now going back to file merits. There's the antitrust litigation with Quadvest. I mean, there's still an appeal going on with other Quadvest cases. Decided.
hey, stay tuned. We may be getting more money.
or they might not ever get settled, right?
Thank you, Ed.
Get resolved one way or another.
It will get resolved, if we can be sure of that. All right, item 21, do we need closed session? So we don't need 22. Discuss matters for placement on future agenda. Next month for the new directors, we'll have the new directors sworn in, new elections for officers, trustees, all that kind of stuff like that.
You need,
I can't remember if they get seated that night or
They do.
get seated at the following.
we do still need, all directors to show up to the extent that they can. Been, a few questions about, well, if I'm not running, do I even need to come? Well, yes, because they said, existing directors make the form to be able to call that meeting to order and then seat the new directors. Once the new directors are seated, that's when they will start to take action as a member of the.
And I'll need to come and make sure Bud 46 empties the room before we get to me. Because we all knew they don't do that very promptly. Okay, well, everybody, thank y'all for coming tonight. We done almost in an hour. Thank y'all very much.